and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of On Point with me. I got some of the best minds in the business. For the first time, I see my brother from Houston is in a suit. How you doing there, Mr. Towel?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How you doing?
Excellent.
Thank you.
And on the upper right-hand corner, like we say in boxing, is the indomitable heavyweight champions of intellectuals, my younger brother or son, Mr. Elvis Morris from the Lakes, state of 10,000 Lakes.
Yeah. Mr. Giver, don't press for chicken too much before you join Red Orchard today.
Hey,
So
that's it.
I'm having a joy.
How's Minnesota? How things going? I'm hearing some bad stuff. A young police officer was ambushed and murdered. We want to extend our sympathy to that family. It's always a terrible thing to have our law enforcement attacked.
Yeah, I haven't heard it. Maybe I've been out of the loop. I haven't read up on it yet. But yeah, I told you I didn't want to get too excited about the T Wolves. So what happened to them? They always get our hopes up and then they let us down, just like the Vikings and other teams. But today's a nice day. The breeze is blowing. It's supposed to rain later, but we're enjoying the day. Thank God to be available for the show today.
Well, before I go to Mr. Tao, I was a big fan of the Timberwolves. My only disappointment is now, did they peak too early? Because now the expectation for next year is going to be so high, they will have to go beyond the Western Conference. Now, that would be the goal. So I love this incremental development, but it's got to the top of the food chain. Now the pressure is going to be, if you don't make it to the Western Conference final next year, then you are a failure. So that is a downside to the whole thing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the thing about it is the guys on the team are good players. You got Anthony Edwards, who is just 22 years old and has barely hit his peak or his prime. So the team will be good for a long time. The problem we have is the contracts. You have Towns, Edwards and Gobert, who are supposed to be up for contract extension or renewal. And if we can't afford them, we'll have to let at least one of them go. But I'm not worried too much about it. Let's discuss Liberia as the person issue today.
Well, when we're talking about sports, it has something to do with Liberia because when you have a huge concentration of Liberians over there, they are involved into football, basketball, all of those things, and the transfer. I saw what about Itama Ali in Liberia, working out with the kids, introducing football and all of that. It's a good thing. Mr. Tao, yeah, go ahead, Mr. Maurice. You want to say something?
No. I was just gonna give a shout out to some of our Liberian athletes. Some of us don't know them, but you have the like of Alvin Kamara, who went back home. I think maybe for the first time. The running back from the New Orleans Saints. His mother is Liberian. Both his parents are Liberians. Of course, Taba Ali, who is retired now, played for the Kansas City Chiefs. GC guy from Lofa. Really did a great job in the NFL. You had like the Ubotis brothers who are, from Grand Gia. They play in the NFL as well for the Eagles and the Bills. So you have a lot of Liberians, Noah Bonle who play in the NBA now. He plays in China for Nimba. So you have a lot of Liberians who have transcended, into American sports and have done a good job. The likes of Alfonso Davis playing in Germany. Maybe you'll go to our Chelsea. We're hoping for that this summer.
Sure.
So we're proud of those boys. They're doing well. They're making us proud on the world stage. So kudos to them.
Yes, and not to blow my own horn, but my son played college ball, doing very well, and he just got on the Connecticut Suns team as a trainer. So he's with the WNBA, doing very well. Mr. Tao, how you doing there, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Here in Houston, the weather has been really bad here, on and off. It's been crazy. The sun could be very hot, and then out of nowhere, it just get pitch black, and then storm blow, kill a couple of people, neighborhoods get flooded, and then within like about 2-3 hours, it clear back up, and that been going on for like almost the last couple of weeks. So we hope that such a weather don't become the pattern for this summer, pretty much. And
We blame you guys. You're the one at in fossil fuel. The boy been 1 year with global warming. Listen, Like
Your
global warming effect now you're feeling
your kids
it.
sucking the oil. Ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen, if you are Liberian and you live in the Houston or Texas area and you are affected by the climate change or the weather situation, then please let us know. We got families and friends out there. Even if you're not a family or friend, but you are Liberian and you are affected, let us know. We'll send a shout out to you. Mr. Taiwo, there's a whole lot going on in Liberia. And we have, like I say, it's a buffet. You can pick any topic to discuss. You do not have a shortage of it. When you talk about controversy, you're talking about scandal. I mean, it's everywhere. So I've been getting a lot of calls from folks who are saying that we have turned into bashing the administration. Which I don't. I mean, like when the topics come, like they are coming, right? This is not. We are taking most of the topics from the newspapers for current event in Liberia from the government own website. So this is not bashing. For instance, we're going to be talking about uh, the death of the soldier. Okay, someone said he shot himself in the head 6 times. How is that possible? You know, after the first shot, how do you do that? Something similar happened in 2022 during President Weah's visit to Nima, I think it was Ganta, and something happened there. Mr. Early got killed. My Mombasa brother got killed there. And the report out of there was that he shot himself twice in the head. And it was concerning. And here we are. It looks like we're having a repeat. But one of the things that I want to know is, I know we're coming to it, the gentleman who killed himself, he was a sergeant. A sergeant is at the top of the food chain. What was he doing on guard duty? I mean, these are all the questions we'll be asking here. Mr. Finley, Councillor Finley Kanga was confirmed. Now we have an ombudsman in the country. What does this mean? Is he empowered? Does he have the power and the resources to carry on his duty? Will he be fair and free to do as he pleases, or is he another hound dog that will be chasing, that will be sent after or seeking the opposition? We have Minister of State with our portfolio. I love that position. They are going to government. That's the job I want. Minister of State or assistant minister with our portfolio. You just, you just do your own thing. You got no portfolio. You do whatever. Basically, you are the do boy or do girl. Whatever they say you to bring water, you bring the water. So we're going to be discussing these issues. And we really, really want to delve into the bigger controversy there was the Investments Commission refusal to grant concession agreement for the Putu Mountain. That was unheard of. That the administration and the who's who in Liberia have agreed to give away the concession right. And the Investment Commission got in the middle and said, no, this is not right. We are not going to do this. So where are we going? Is this a good sign? Are we giving everything away in Liberia? So let's get going here. Mr. Morris, you have been in the middle. You talk so just like Mr. Eastman does. We are talking about a soldier that was accused of masterminding the army wives to protest. And all of a sudden, the administration and everybody else were pointing finger at him as the guy who was undermining the Waka administration, the UP administration. He was suspected of masterminding these women to protest against the president. And all of a sudden, the young man is found dead. They say he shot himself in the head 6 times. Mr. Morris.
Right. Look, Mr. German, thank you. And before I even get to that question, let me say this for this platform and for some of us who appear on this platform. We watch the landscape of political talk on the internet, especially in the Liberian community. And this platform is a well-respected platform. What Mr. Jah has built over the years has been something to to marvel at the respect that he garners from the way he presents and the way he has established this platform. So we appreciate it. We see a lot of new platforms coming up. They start to, do a lot of gossip. They start to do a lot of breaking, quote unquote, breaking news. And it's enticing for many Liberians because they're trying to get, quote unquote, the first news. But let me say to those detractors who think that we are against this president or we are some kind of echo chamber against the president. It's not true. The reality is everybody on this platform, for those who have a side, have stated their side, and those who are independent have stated that they're independent. I've criticized this president, I've praised him, but definitely I was a CDC supporter. And most likely, if election was held today, I'll probably support President We are over our current president Boycott. So I've made my position clear. This is not a veil that we're trying to act like we're independent and then we are trying to support one party. Mr. Jad definitely is an independent. Mr. Sear, they may have, their opinions, but this platform does not belong to George Weah or the CDC or any other political party. We who are on these opinion shows on Sundays, we have our positions that we stated. So I just want people to understand that. But let me get to it, Mr. Gamen. The thing that happened in my county with Mr. Early, you know, that's why when you don't have a robust medical system, and it's hard to really get to the bottom of certain things when they happen. Because if you say somebody commits suicide, in Liberia, we're not known for committing suicide. Africa as a whole, we have a very low suicide rate compared to other parts of the world. But you first look at that person's history. If they were on antidepressants, if they have talked to a therapist, if they have been dealing with some kind of life-changing event, whether it's divorce or some kind of illness or cancer or something like that, and they're so down on themselves. But we don't have those information for the guy that happened, the guy that got killed or was allegedly killed himself in Nima. And we probably won't have any similar information for this guy who was killed. I think his name is Mane. But the reality is, one of the things that he said that was intriguing, or one of the things that was levied against the former defense minister, was that he had this security company where he had people from the AFL working in that security company as a way to get quick cash. And these people were paying him, I think they said $10,000 or $15,000 a month. And those guys who were actually doing the security duty, similar to what the guy was doing, but I think he was on a government, property shuffling. He was pocketing most of the money and barely giving the money to the AFL soldiers, because AFL soldiers are one of the few people I think who are allowed arms in the country, apart from the EPS, officers. So the fact that this was a quote unquote whistleblower, and you find him dead less than 6 months or even less than 3 months after this information came out, it's very suspicious. But for me to say that it was some kind of target killing is the same thing we rail against people from doing President Weah, because every time somebody died in the country, they assume that person was targeted by the government and was killed because it was speaking too much against the government. I'm not going to do that here. But for people who are science led and people who want to go through the scientific route, we have to look at his background. Is there any history of depression? Is there any history of trauma? Is there any history of life-changing events in his life? And then we can decide if he had the propensity to commit suicide because he was too stressed or he had certain things that he just couldn't bear. But for me, I think it's suspicious on the face of it, but I'm not going to propound too much into speculations of what happened if the government was after him or if the former defense minister, now NSA boss, had anything to do with it.
Before I go to Mr. Tawo, Mr. Morris, let me throw a little light here. One of the things that I want you to expand on is it possible for someone to shoot themselves 6 times in the head? And one of the things that we have always said, even during the President Weah administration, was we do have animosities, we do have envy among each other. These people they are partners, but they also compete. They are soldiers. Everybody compete for promotion, for everything. So anything can happen among themselves. But since it is on the watch of the president, and I understand why they would say President Weah did it or Joseph Boyka did it, is because it is on his watch. So anything between these guys, interfighting, all of these things are all happening. Everybody want to impress the president. Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah, well, with respect to the dead sergeant, A sergeant is nowhere close to a general in the army. And if it's possible for somebody to be shot in the head 6 times, I don't think so by themselves. But what I do know is that bullets tend to fragment, especially when it comes into contact with a hard surface like a skull. Sometimes you get in the skull and you see little, shrapnel from the bullet that bounce around the skull. You may see different, pieces of that bullet when it fragments. You'll see different, like maybe 5 or 6 pieces in the brain. But if there's entry and exit wounds on a person's head of multiple wounds, it's possible. At a minimum, maybe you will see 2 wounds from the entry to the exit. The person put the gun to their temple. But again, I'm not a medical person. I'm not going to speculate here. But the reality is, if these people can prove that there were separate entry and exit wounds of multiple bullet entries and exits, then that's going to be suspicious. But let's leave it for the medical professional, Mr. Gilman. At least that would be my final take on it.
Great. Mr. Tao, your
Yeah.
take.
So, in the first place, I followed the situation a little bit. I don't have enough information, but who declared this stuff as suicide? Like how? Because that was my concern. Like who did the examination? Who did the who checked out the body? Who checked out the bullet wounds and all of this stuff to declare suicide? So, like you said earlier, Mr. Gaiman, when it happened during Weah's time, that was the same thing we heard. There was no definitive medical information or investigation that was put out to show anything. So, just the fact that it can be declared suicide just like that raised some kind of red flag to me. Even whether the bullet wound was just one, whether it was just one shot, how can who came up with that conclusion? So that is the thing that I'm still kind of trying to wait on, because everything that I checked, I didn't hear that, oh, it was from maybe the medical examiner from JFK or from this forensic expert from this place that checked, and everything is in line with suicide, like he held the gun to his own head and the way the bullet entered and the way it came out. So I'm actually still waiting to see if I can get more information. But no, Mr. Give me a question. There is no way no one can shoot themselves in the head 6 times, even twice, because once you shoot once, uh, uh, you're gonna go down. So when you go down, the gun is not going to be focused to where you can shoot another a second time. So for now, I would just say I want to wait for them to see how information unfold, and for them to see some kind of report, whether from the government or from some kind of independent body, which I know it really never happened in Liberia. I hope it does, at least in this situation, because Mr. Boaka then told us that they're transparent, that President Boaka been told that they're transparent and they're law abiding, and they want to support the security of the country. So if when military people start getting killed, that's a security issue just like anybody. So I would say I would just wait to see if I can get more information first.
Great. Mr. Gay, we have here, I was reading the report here from the newspaper. The Army have already made a statement. They said this was a suicide, but then for me, on the other hand, at the end of that statement, it says the investigation continues. So if you are investigating, you have not come to a conclusion yet, how do you determine somebody committing suicide?
First of all, good evening to all. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear
Okay.
you.
Listen, man, Mr. Gaiman, and no disrespect to the AFL and all of the government officials in Liberia, but sometimes you scratch your head just by their preliminary report or preliminary statement that they make when something happens, as if that they never went to school where these things were taught. As a law enforcement officer, you don't make a definitive statement or you don't give the cause of death when the case has not been concluded yet. The, I was in another group chat and they shared the images of the deceased military guy, and it's very graphic. I was even complaining, I'm like, guys, just stop sharing any kind of pictures in group chat. But it is very disturbing, very graphic, and like Mr. Tawo said, under no circumstances a person can shoot themselves in the head twice, let alone the sixth time that they said in the report. Once the bullet hit, so we follow ID channel here, we follow all the cases here. You can take a bullet to the thigh, the shoulder, or whatever. You may try, survive to the chest, depending on the part of the body. You may survive or try to fight a little bit before you can die. To the head, it's instant. You're gone. Just one bullet to the head. Unless it grazes your head on the side or something. But the way the wound is, the whole thing open behind. I saw the pictures. The whole thing open. Like, I don't know who have access to the body like that. Took clear images. It's too graphic for me to share with you guys. Oh my God. Like yesterday, my whole day was like, ooh, how can you share somebody's family member picture like that? But yes, the wound is wide, it's multiple, it's like kind of spread out. And no, I don't think that is a suicide. Whoever came up with that suicide thing, no, it's way beyond suicide. Now, they need to hire an independent pathologist and also a ballistic expert, right? To give a clear picture as to what really transpired. Because that, I don't know if somebody are trying to hide something and they try to make it as though he committed. I don't think that is a suicide. Without those images that I saw yesterday.
You went out a little bit, Anthony. Go ahead.
Yeah, so somebody was calling my phone just now. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, I just want to conclude on this by saying I disagree with our reporting. I think they need to do a better job. Look, people are not ignorant out here. Okay, we may not be military personnel, we may not be security expert, but we have common sense and we can apply logic to these things. Under no circumstances, a person will pull that trigger 6 times in the head. No way.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, do us a favor, share this show on your platforms, in your chat rooms. Join the conversation. We want to say hi to Mr. Don. He's following us from San Quillen, Nima County. Thank you very much for tuning in. We want to, I think Miss Dawson here, Asata Dawson. I think this may be her first time on here. Welcome and thank you for tuning in. Mr. Ali Kamara, thank you for tuning in. How you doing there, sir?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Great. Good to see you. You're looking sharp. You're sitting out straight. The camera is on you. Your son may have given you a tutorial. Doing very well. Mr. Kamara, welcome to the show. How's your family? How's everybody in the Baltimore area?
We're doing great. All power to God.
Great. We were talking about this situation in Liberia, which is basically a repeat of what we saw during the Joe Weir time. An EPS officer by the name of Mr. Early, they say he shot himself in the head twice. Now we found a Liberian Army sergeant. They say he shot himself 6 times in the head in the barracks while he was on duty. We find it to be troubling. Your take?
Yeah, it's kind of complicated. However, I wouldn't indulge in any conspiracy theory at this point in time. I am waiting for. I heard that they would be prompted into some investigation, and I'm looking forward to that. After that investigation, I'll then be able to come up with a conclusion. However, gravity doesn't support the fact that someone can shoot themselves more than 3 times or more than 2 times. There's a gravitational force when a bullet goes into you. So it kind of disorientates you immediately. So anyway, I'm not an expert, but something doesn't seem right. However, I want to wait for the investigation.
Mr. Kamara, I think you were on point with everybody else. My only drawback was they said that it was a suicide. Then at the end of the government statement or the army statement, it says the investigation will continue. So if like you said, the investigation is ongoing, how can you declare that somebody had committed suicide? That's the
I think it
hiccup.
was a presumption. I think it was a presumption.
Well, Mr. Kamara, you are a professional person like we all are here in our different fields. Something of that nature, will you make a presumption, or you will wait and say we will defer to the expert in the investigative area?
And that is why we all agree at some point that we still have a lot of work to do in our country in terms of etiquette, in terms of professionalism. You know, so there are lots of training that has to be done. We don't do periodic training or seminars. When you train for the first 6 months, you join the military, you're in the military to the day you die, you don't ever have to go back to training. So there have to be different kinds of training, including leadership training, commander training, and others that are not going on. So let us recommend these things. We see the lapses and they need those help. I don't think it was deliberate. I think it was as a result of ignorance.
Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Thank you for your comments. We are following. We are looking at people from everywhere else. We're very happy to see that you are involved and getting informed. And we are getting information like you and I are. We are not experts here. We don't have any expertise in this area. We are not on the ground. We are giving our opinion. It is not here to be accusatory. We're not accusing anybody, but we are saying there are some inconsistencies in either what is being written, what is being reported, and what is projected to come. In the court of public opinions, if you start all wrong, it will be almost impossible for you to redirect your correction, because you have made a declaration, you have been declarative that it was suicide, and then you put a red flag and saying the investigation continues. So if you have reached if investigative report findings are usually say logical conclusion. You cannot do it backward. You cannot conclude, then go back to find logic to fit that. It doesn't work that way. This is where we are. Mr. Tao,
Yes, sir.
let's talk about logical conclusion here. How can you conclude from the beginning before you even start or before you begin the process of investigation?
You really, in this situation is different though, because like I don't know if any of us here are familiar with doing some scientific research in labs. I've done a lot of it, but it's different. You don't actually make an actual declaration. What happened here is that a lot of the research that I've done, when I'm just giving a scenario now. Okay, like before they started to produce like diamonds, right, in a lab. I was among one of the first group of people way back in the late 90s, early 2000s to work on that. So we knew what we wanted it to be. We had a scope that we drew up, and then we kind of projected. Then we followed that to reach that conclusion based on what we already had in mind. So we did that, and were able to actually produce many diamonds, like up to like maybe 70-80% of that at that time when that technology was very new. But in this instance here is different. Let me just address what Mr. Kamara is saying, or let me just point out. We're not what we're talking about. It have nothing to do with training and all this story and trying to do that. No. This guy, this situation here is that this man, if this is true, that he was accused of inciting against the government, that he was accused of allegedly robbing out something by the former defense minister. So if all of the things are around there, and then all of a sudden he gets killed or he died in some way by gun or by whatever means, and then all of a sudden without even an investigation, there is a conclusion thrown out there that he committed suicide. That's a red flag. So under those conditions, there will be the assumption actually that there is foul play before we can even look at an investigation to come out. But you can't come out and then just throw our conclusion and then say, we keep trying to make excuse that, because they're not so professional yet. Oh, no, because they just don't know that it's not true. We shouldn't make excuses when something is wrong. or when something is done wrongly,
Thank
to
you.
say, oh, we need to give them training.
Great. Mr. Morris, I know you're going to, let's
Let me
close on this.
let me clarify something, Mr. Jimmy.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Mr.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Morris.
So, all right. So, okay. So, I wasn't saying that it was okay to come out and make any pronouncement. I wasn't also saying that it was okay to kill someone just in case if the person was actually killed. The point that I'm making about professionalism is simple. If it's accused of something, the first and foremost an intelligent organization would do is to protect the accused. Immediately protect, keep surveillance on the accused. Secondly, whoever came up with a statement that it was a suicide, if he was trained and there was an organizational structure there, he would not be allowed to speak except the military spokesman is given the authority on this issue to speak because it's a criminal issue. That's how it works.
Yeah. Mr. Morris, you can close on this. We are talking about this is not an army that was just put together. As Mr. Kamara once said during the campaign, these are professionally trained folks. I think when they reshuffled the AFL, these people were trained. Some of them were brought over here. They've been trained by some of the best in the world. So the reason they wanted a small unit is to be well trained and then gradually build it up. And they did a lot of training. And these guys, they are professional. We cannot underestimate the power of these folks. These guys are trained.
It doesn't mean they can't mess up, yo man. It doesn't mean they cannot mess up. They messed up.
I understand. And that's fair, Mr. Morris.
Right. And let me just say this to Anthony and Mr. Taiwo. It's not it's not unthinkable that this could be suicide. It's not out of the the realm of possibilities because one thing you have to understand again, we're not medical professionals, but the exit wounds of bullets is always larger than the entry wounds. Usually most people put the gun to the side of the temple and and blow their brains out. I hate to say it so graphically, but in certain instances, they put it to the front of the head. So, like Anthony was saying, I saw that picture myself, and there's a big gap in the back of his of his head, and it depends on the caliber of the bullet. Of the bullet. You got Desert Eagles, you got Rugers, you got all kind of different guns that have a large capacity bullet and tend to almost explode once they make impact. So they can be very, very deadly and destructive when it hits the body. So again, the possibility of suicide is there. And for me to think that somebody will walk up to, like you're saying, Mr. Gamer, a military man who is well trained and just put a gun to his head and shoot him either at close range or, a little further away without any resistance, I don't think so. So I think it's possible that it could be a suicide, but at the same time, the circumstances when people saying he was shot 6 times, I didn't see any evidence of multiple bullet wounds. But again, that's the news that's been circulating. But suicide is possible, but most people don't kill themselves at work. People know if they're going to kill themselves, they'll stay home and maybe, God, I hate to say it, but blow their brains out in their room or in the bathroom. They don't dress up and go to work and kill themselves on the job. That's unheard of. So for me, I think it's still suspicious, but let's not do too much more. More speculation. Let's just leave it there for now. Leave it there for now, Mr. Gibbon.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Please do us a
Yep,
favor.
I'm nodding my head when you said nobody dress up and go to work and commit a suicide. You're absolutely right. Many suicide cases, it never happened at work like that.
All right.
We are talking about suicide, guys. If you have any expertise, if you are a medical professional, if you have experience in forensic autopsy, you can call in or ask us, and we'll bring you on next Sunday. Our show here is basically the week in review. Everything that have happened, that have been said during the week, we come here and close it out. That's what it is. So we are not here to beat up on anybody who says, well, we were just in the news. On Monday, you're discussing, Wednesday, you're discussing, Sunday, you're on the note. That's not why we're here. We are here to bring everything together. Mr. Gay, you came in last, so let's take on the number two here. We are talking about Mr. Finlay Kanga, have been appointed ombudsman for Liberia. Why do you think this position means, what do you think about this young man? I call him young man because I expect everybody who is willing to serve their country to be young in their minds. What do you think about
Quick,
this?
quick question: is he the brother of Youngly Kanga or no relations?
No, I don't think there's any relation there.
Okay, okay. Let's double check.
Probably that parent had the same last name, just like my father last name. A lot of people have it.
Mhm.
Well, all I can hope for, again, we all hope that each person that is confirmed to do a job will do the job, especially in the area of independence, that they will exhibit the independence of their office and do their job for any fear or favor. That's all we can hope for. That's all Liberia needs right now. But it's yet to be, seen post-war Liberia, where many things that have happened, you know, number day, a lot of things may not have been perfect, but at least we see people are working in a job, doing things in the right way a little bit. But this post-war Liberia is kind of difficult to find people operating in a field and just doing their job like the DA from New York the other day said, I just did my job, the evidence was presented and we did our job. But that's all I hope for. Right now, the only expectation I have is for him to do a job without fear and favor. You know, do the job accordingly. Follow the evidence where it leads you. That's all I hope for. Nothing else I have to say about that.
Great. Mr. Tao,
Yeah.
there are two things that happen in Liberia. They either give you a position with no teeth. You got no resources. You got nothing. That's why when they asked me, would I ever serve in Liberia, I told them, no, not for me to serve in a position where I don't have any money to do anything but just go to work, write policy, and get paid. If that's what you're supposed to do, then I don't want it because I like to see results, something, not just pushing papers. So here we are able to get you a position, your ombudsman, no money. That's a big job. You should be having prosecutorial power. You should have the finances, the resources to do investigation, to do everything. They just gave you a job with a desk and chair and nothing else, but you just get paid. Is this possible for this position to be actually vibrant as we all hope it should be?
Okay. So, Liberia is our country, and I grew up in Liberia, and I was there till I was old enough. But what I'm seeing here is that it doesn't matter how many other agencies and organizations they create. Just like Mr. Gay said, that's the hope, or that's the assumption that hopefully he will be independent, right? They can be independent. These are political appointments. If you are appointed by former President Weah, or you're appointed by President Boyka in any position, there is some pressure there for you to be able to function. They see that people that were put in no position are supposed to be tender and protected. They've been removed. They've been walked out. These are political appointments. But look at the main statement I want to make here. If you have existing institutions that are already supposed to do what this ombudsman is supposed to do, they say prosecutorial power. No, you have the justice ministry already that can persecute just about anybody. If I went and I stole a government vehicle, no ombudsman is going to tell me anything. I'm going to be arrested by the police. I'm going to be brought to court, and the justice ministry is going to persecute me. So if the justice ministry is not working, then you create another organization that's supposed to do the same job that the justice ministry is supposed to do. It's still not going to work. If the justice ministry that have their financial crime wing and everything in there, and corruption, embezzlement, if it is not working, if you create a GSC or any of this stuff, it's still not going to work. So our problem is not about creating all these different things. It's about trying to make the existing institutions to work. If we can make those to work, Then if we say, okay, we want to share some of that responsibility with this, then we have the blueprint on how to make everything work. This is where our problem is. Our problem is not about how many. So no, I see nothing that will really come out of it. During Ellen Johnson's lifetime president, former president, didn't they have the same ombudsman? How many people were persecuted? The American and they all get caught. The same American that's not in the house making all this noise. They were double dipping over the place. GSC did all this stuff. It was there. What did the ombudsman do? Nothing. So there is nothing that if the justice ministry cannot do it, no matter. So all this stuff is about creating to waste money, pretty much. They say they want small government, make the existing institutions work. That's our problem, please.
Great.
This is a waste of our time.
Mr. Kamara,
Yes,
during the early time and the and we are time and we had, for some reason, it looks like the president don't like this tenure thing because, like they say, they do not serve at the will and pleasure of the president. So the president feels very uncomfortable with certain people and say, I want to get rid of these people because I don't have control over them. You saw President Weah do it. You saw Mr. Waka doing it. So here we are now. We have the president said that, listen, if you don't listen to me, you serve at the will and pleasure. You serve at my will and pleasure. You bring in an ombudsman under these conditions. Do you think he or she is actually free to have the millions of dollars it would take to persecute, to chase people down, bring them to court?
I think we're misunderstanding, first of all, the function of the ombudsman. I hear my brother Tao say, La brother had country, but everything he just explained doesn't seem to indicate that he actually knows the justice minister.
I'm from Saudi Arabia.
The justice minister is the Attorney General of the Republic. The ombudsman's responsibility is to compare the executive branch of government to apply by the code of conduct as specified in the different books. For example, the ombudsman can force you or can make you actually declare your assets, but the justice minister does not have such authority. And to say ombudsman were hired during Ellen time and so on and so forth, there was no ombudsman. This is the first time in the Republic of Liberia that an ombudsman has been hired. All right, so let's just distinguish that. It's not the same. The justice minister cannot prosecute anyone who has not been indicted. Just because the GAC labels people in a piece of document does not mean the justice ministry can actually prosecute. A case has to go to the justice ministry for an investigation and possible prosecution. So let's understand that. Now, as per whether this ombudsman will do his job because he worked at the will and pleasure of the president, for me, I don't want to be very pessimistic. I want to be optimistic that he will put his integrity on the lines here, because the president can hire the ombudsman, but he cannot fire the ombudsman, not on any legal grounds, unless that person did something wrong. So just because the ombudsman goes after the president doesn't mean the president can remove him by law. And let me tell you this, I'm so happy now that going forward, we should put most of our attention on the ombudsman, because he is charged with a responsibility, given that the judicial branch cannot do it, the legislative branch cannot, force the executive branch to do anything, but it is the ombudsman in the executive branch of government that can make the executive branch of government follow the rules. So let's put the pressure on that ombudsman going forward.
Great. Welcome, Mr. Jimmy Eastman.
Yeah, my apologies, gentlemen. As you can see, I was representing Liberia today. We had an international day, and of course, being a Liberian, proud Liberian.
Excuse me, you took Joseph Waka's position? You represent Liberia?
Every one of us are representing Liberia, whether we realize it or not. Right now, if Mr. Tao go out in Texas and misbehave, they will say that's a Liberian. If Mr. Tahoe goes and represent us at a grand occasion, then Liberia get a praise.
That's
Each
right.
one of us are ambassadors and envoys of Liberia.
Great. Great. Now, you came right in time. Liberia finally, President Boyka finally appoints an ombudsman.
Yeah.
The question here is, everybody appointed by the president serves at the will and pleasure of the president.
That's correct.
Mr. Kamara wants to disagree with us, but we know that's the deal, so we're not going to go into that. What we are saying here is now that presidents, maybe not just Joseph Boyka, but unitary presidents, especially in Liberia, that love power, especially what just happened in Liberia, where people who are tenured, where the president feels uncomfortable with them, trying to illegally remove them. This ombudsman is now coming. Will he be used as a hound dog? Will he or she be the greyhound to go after those people that the president wants to go after? Or will he say, I have the independence, I want to go all the way back from 2006?
Okay. Well, time will tell. But you know, I'm going to be embarking on a crusade from now on. I've used this analogy before. If you're going to draw water and your bucket has a leak, you will not be able to draw very much water. You'll not be able to carry it very far, because the first thing you have to do, if you mean business, is to patch your leak. Liberia cannot improve. We cannot take our economy out of poverty. We cannot take our people to the next level of existence unless they address the corruption that is keeping us down at all levels. And to do that, you have to have a systematic approach to it. Just the other day, I heard somebody on another program saying Liberians are inherently corrupt. That's not true. If that is true, then everybody's inherently corrupt. But the way to correct corrupt action is to punish it. There has to be punitive measures that will cause it. We all came in this country and we had our opinions and thoughts of how things should behave. But when they slapped you once or twice on the wrist, or incarcerated you, or sent you home, deported you, then you realize that you cannot do what you want to do. So this ombudsman he may be policing public officials, but it has to be a systematic approach. The depth is of the wrongdoings in our country is so deep. You cannot just take. It's just like you say you won't go clean a junkyard, and then you see you taking one small little broom. That's not going to clean a whole junkyard. It's going to take too long. You have to have a systematic approach. And if we should measure any administration by the attitude toward fixing corruption in our country. Because if you're convinced now, there's no other way we'll promote ourselves until we address that issue. So anybody who is not addressing the issue, anybody who's appointing a team, what they call recovery team, and the people jump on, and the whole recovery team is dissolved before they even start. That's not serious.
Great.
So the ombudsman, it has to be a systematic approach. And if we don't see that, then you know our country not going nowhere, because that has to happen first. As Mr. Tao is an engineer, he knows before you can even be building, before you can even proceed to construct, you have to first address the fundamental issues, the foundation. And if you're not doing that, guarantee you're not going anywhere. So that's all. I'll leave it right there.
Good. Mr. Morris, first of all, what do you understand the ombudsman to be? And does he or she have the resources like the asset recovery to go and collect $2-3 billion that we suspend all over the world? You're talking about maybe $100 million to get going to actually bring or come up with a structured contract to say we pay you percentage based. Go ahead. What do you understand the ombudsman to be, and where are we headed with this?
Thank you. I think Mr. Kamara was, really close in his explanation of the responsibilities of the ombudsman. But before I even say that, I want to reiterate a point that I made earlier that has been corroborated. He is the brother of Yombi Kanga Lawrence. I asked that question because I had, word that this was her brother. I'm being told from the comment section, and I myself had a hunch that this is her half brother. This Finlay Kanga guy. So he is actually related to the Senate Pro Tem, which I think just on the face of it is, it's a conflict of interest. But let me say this. I think my, rudimentary understanding of an ombudsman is like Mr. Kamara was saying. For example, the PPCC laws. He is the spearhead of that to make sure that the procedures in how we disperse money is followed to the T. And without his approval, that all of these regulation that was put in place has been met, those money cannot be dispersed to these different agencies. So he is supposed to be a guardrail and a hawk to make sure that all of these processes are followed to a T before any money can be dispersed to different agency or different individuals who are doing their work in their respective positions. So he is very, very, very important. That's why I think the fact that he's related to the Senate Pro Tem is an issue. And that's why we have to look into it and make sure that there will be no favor, there will be no, signs of impropriety. Somebody who has a close relationship with one of the confidants of the president, sometimes it could be means for a witch hunt. So let's see how he performs. But I think the fact that he's related to the Pro Tem is a big issue. And then lastly, I would say this. Regardless of if he's going to perform well, you have to have the political will and integrity of other institutions that's supposed to work hand in hand with the ombudsman to make sure that when he has a problem and he said this is not the right way it's supposed to be done, these guys will not just say, my man, let's just let it go. They will not do things to undermine him, standing up and objecting to things being done the wrong way. So for me, I think it's an important position, but it's only going to be as effective as those who are supposed to be working in concert with him, are effective and standing up for the rule of law and have some integrity. That's the only way he's going to have any success in that position.
Great. We
1 minute, Mr. Gilman.
Yes.
Mr. Gay has not spoken.
Yeah, no, I was about to go to Gay,
Mr. Gay was the first on this issue. I don't know what the main issue is. Mr. Gay was the first on
No,
this
to be fair, I was the first on this issue.
Yeah,
Because I was just short, that's all. But I was the first
Ali,
on the issue.
Mr. Ali, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Moran, who is not a Liberian citizen, at least understand the issue more than the man who is more Liberian.
I'm a Liberian citizen.
Everybody,
Come on.
the only non-Liberian on this platform is a guy from Sierra Leone. And you know who he is, so we go in there.
They made the yellow shirt.
Not a man from Basel, from Riverside, from Grand Gila.
Let me learn quick.
Listen. I'm going around the corner with a different county. I can't just.
Mr. Kamal from Lofa and Grand Basel. He's the mayor.
No, I'm from Kenneman. Go ahead, Kenneman United. Go ahead.
Anyways, so the ombudsman's responsibility is not to go after government money across the world. That's why you got the LACC, you got the GAC. That is not the ombudsman's job. All right? The job, like ever said, is to make sure that people adhere to the policies that was written, passed into law, among other things. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I mean, if we had the ombudsman, we would not have had the debacle we had with the what's the name, the 285 yellow machine, right?
So
If money was disbursed for those machines, it should have went through the office of the ombudsman. That's why he's there. But we're not sure if money was disbursed. People saying it's a gift, so that whole thing is confusing.
Who
so let me
he can't accept a gift that is more than $250 US.
That's why it's a problem. They think they're trying to escape the responsibility of getting it by saying it's a gift. That's even a bigger problem for them.
Yeah.
Mr. Taiwo, real
The
quick.
code of
Yeah.
conduct letter said you
Look.
can receive any gift that more than $250 US.
Go
Yeah,
ahead,
so
Taiwo.
so let me speak to something. I'm going to always speak on things that come out. I'm shocked that this guy was here on this platform. Everything he knew how to scout everything that was wrong, that was illegal, and then they come to boycott. No, because when we're talking with the ombudsman, there's not even a boycott, President boycott stuff. This is an actual overall stuff of Liberia, but because it's happening on a boycott, he want to find a way to justify to make it. Talking about the ombudsman is going to go force people to declare their asset. He don't even have that authority. I don't think he can even do that. The fact that he's hired by the president, he's going to be working at the will and pleasure of the president. He's going to be the one holding the executive responsible. You want to explain those things. But look, just like Mr. Eastman said, which I mentioned earlier, if the existing institutions that we have, if they're not working, if we can make them work, and then we keep creating new ones, they're still not going to work because we don't have the record, we don't have the knowledge or the ability to make the existing institutions work. Okay, so what is President Barker trying to do by hiring the ombudsman, setting up this asset recovery, all this stuff? It's about corruption, right? Let's say to fight corruption. Okay, quite all right. But in order for you to do that, the very foundation on which the Barker government stands right now is very corrupt and problematic. The president has refused to declare his asset. We're supposed to actually be able to put in place a transparency. He has refused to allow his people, he has not held anybody responsible to declare their asset. There was corruption on the inauguration money. They said they're going to launch something to it. Nothing happened. So you see right here, so the hands are not clean right from the beginning. So it doesn't matter how many institutions you hire. It's not going to work. So look, all the institution, ombudsman, or LSCC, all the stuff that were created so that it can be a distraction. When they refuse to make the existing institution work on Ellen, these things were done so it can be like a facade. They put a wall over your head so that you can think that there is something there, but there is nothing there. They're not going to work. We have to be honest with ourselves as Liberians. Like Mr. Eastman said, we don't have record of punishing corruption or crime, especially when they happen at the highest areas. You must first have that record. Like in the US here, we're talking about. The reason the US is able to create all the institutions to some extent is because they have the record. They have the record. They punish crime, they punish corruption, do all this stuff. So they set up another institution, they draw from that, and then that institution continue to work.
Great. Mr. Eastman, close up on this here. We are talking about I think it was the end of March. Our national budget was up to 95% recurrent expenses. We had no money left to do anything. On top of that, we are now creating a new agency that will come with a whole bureaucracy, their own secretary, their own. I mean, you're talking about another bureaucracy that will come with maybe another 20 to 30 employees that requires more money for the budget. It looks like we have maxed out 100% and continuing, Mr. Eastman. What's going on here?
So this, I want to make sure I'm clear. This other entity that you refer to that's being created is what? I just want to make sure I'm clear.
It's the ombudsman.
Oh no, but that is okay. Actually, I look at the ombudsman more as someone who will make sure people abide by the policies of the administration. Not so much that they are involved in criminal investigations and stuff like that. this is ombudsman more is look. Are you conforming to our policies and and decisions we made? It's sort of like keep everybody in check, much. But when it comes to the criminal interrogation, the criminal persecution of miscreants and all these people, you need something much stronger than that. Okay, and the ombudsman is not nearly. It's not going to do anything very much. You might talk to the minister of commerce and say, look, this is our policy. We notice that you're doing something, or you talk to another person. Oh, you haven't declared your assets, and this is our policy. You have to do those sort of things. Is what he's going to address. But the root of our misdoings and criminal misdoings and whatnot, like you have the Justice Ministry, you have the LEC, it has to be a systematic effort. And I don't know, Mr. Tao, did you ever go to Carver Mission? Somebody's asking. Reverse S Pro. But anyway,
Mr. Eastman,
yeah.
I'm going to come back to you. Can you please go online and check the ombudsman? Let's find out what the responsibility of the Liberian ombudsman. Because the thing is, how can you now? Can the ombudsman go to Joseph Boyka and say, my man, that 285,
everybody
machinery is not good. Mr. Chairman, this man who committed suicide, don't say it go there. Okay. What happened, Let's go to Mr. Gay. Mr. Gay, what happened? Your ombudsman, you come to me and say, listen, you shouldn't have spoken the way you spoke about this suicide. You should wait until.
No.
Okay. Listen. I have your definition ready.
Go ahead, sir. Read it to him.
I think that would be good for the show. I think we need to have the clear definition, the job description, not definition, but the job description.
Okay.
Yes. Can you read it and put it on the screen, please?
Oh, okay. I will make a banner. Give me a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but why he's doing that, to get the job description on the screen?
Mr. Gill, listen now. From my understanding, the ombudsman in the United States, they are basically an advocate. Okay, an advocate say within the agency that makes sure that everything works. What happens if I come to Mr. Gay and I say, Mr. Gay, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And Mr. Gay said, go to hell. What can the ombudsman do? Okay, talk to me.
So, Mr. Gilman, I think Mr. Eastman spoke to this earlier. That is, we don't have any record of, a senior government official being prosecuted for, not doing the right thing, right? We have political moves being made where people try to score political points. Look, nobody will come from elsewhere to make our country better except for our leaders. Liberia's #1 problem has to do with the leadership. And hopefully we'll get a time where we'll discuss the additional 150,000 or 100K these guys put in the 2024 budget for themselves, right? But the country is so small with the amount of resources that we have. We can do better in our country. But everyone just do what they want. Can you imagine Senator Dillon now declare in 6 years time the man got $500,000? How does he got that kind of money that quick? Right? You can be a medical doctor in the United States. In 10 years time, you cannot save that money unless you are plastic surgeon. But just regular family doctor, you cannot save that money, no matter how stingy you are. But in less than 6 years, you have somebody showing $500,000 on their asset declaration. Something wrong with that picture, right? But again,
Anthony, do the math. I mean, people getting paid almost 150,000 a year. They're getting be able to save that money for a little investment.
You mean regularly?
That's not what. But we'll get into our conversation another day, Mr. Morris. But again, Liberia is a country that has good laws on the books. But if the lawmaker can go within their own caucus and sit down and say, you know what, let's pass a law so we can violate traffic rules, just so we can get to work whenever we want to go to work. So they pass a law that they have a terror in Liberia, and nobody says anything about it. So now they drive on the opposite side of the street to go to work. And by the time they pass, you can see all the people rather than to get gasoline on a bike, and they'll be following them to the same way. And rest of the other traffic, people in the traffic also can follow that same trend. Until we come to a place that, yes, indeed, we want a country that works for all Liberians, we will not get anywhere. Because all these guys you see, so after we finish making the noise, they all go to the same restaurant to eat, the same bar, the same club. They hang out together. Accra and Delaware can be together chilling. Right? That is not a hidden secret. That's the open secret that everybody, they do that. But guess what? When it comes to politics, they act like they're playing politics. They're not serious. Yes, their goal. Their goal, keep the people where they are. So that when election comes around, we get a hand out here and there, and we gain re-election. And we'll continue the same trend again, over and over and again. Like I said, if this man comes into office and do the right thing, Liberia to get out of the situation we are right now, it's not going to take that much. From a year to 3 years to 5 years, you will see the trend. Our country will start moving forward. They don't want to do it. All they want to do is tell the international community that, oh, our international partners here and that you are a beggar, you are not a partner to them. What are you giving in exchange at this point? Right? But that's what we get, Mr. Gaiman. Our people are suffering, and these guys are making mockery. Now they say one senator will get $150,000.
Let me start on the next topic. It's very dear to my heart, please.
Yeah, 1 minute, real quick. And I want also address it before we go to the last one. The next one here is, Mr. Morris, you just saw what I call travesty of justice against the Liberian people, where the Senate got together and said, okay, the executive spent $22 million illegally. Well, we forgave them. Yeah, we forgave you. You don't have to make any complaint. We know you didn't go through the law, the order, the procedure. You don't have to do no accounting. In a country that this happens, how do you expect us to have actually rule law and order?
Look, Mr. Gaiman, let me just say this. Okay, please, somebody read the definition. An ombudsman. An ombudsman is a government employee who investigates and tries to resolve complaints, usually through recommendations, an appointed official to receive and investigate complaints.
That's it.
Right.
I just said it here in the United States.
Kamara said they will force people to declare their answer.
No, in the United States, they call it, yeah, in the United States, they call them advocates in a different ministry. They advocate for the right thing to be done, but they have no power to do anything. Like I said, if I can't
even the IRS get a tax advocate too, like that, yes.
Of course. So, Mr. Morris, before you attest this, the legislature said that people, even though they did something illegal, bad, $22 million, they are forgiven. Don't do it again. I mean, how do we live in a country? How do we do this?
Look, Mr. Gaiman, actually, I have to say I agree with them. And I don't agree with them because I think the decision is right, but because they have the power to make that decision. Yes, they can hold him in contempt. They can have a vote of no confidence, or they could reprimand him and tell him, "Don't do it again. Next time it will be more severe." That's part of their purview. And we know Liberia is not a country that likes to punish anybody, regardless of whatever government is in power. We seem to hate the idea of punishment. But growing up, remember our parents used to beat us for the smallest things. You should the piazza, your mom with you. You do well in school, your mom. But when it comes to our larger society, it seems like we don't like to touch people. We don't like to punish them. Any punitive measure seems to be out of the way. So for me, I think it was well within their rights to say this. But again, what do you expect when this is quote unquote the president's man, and most of these guys are quote unquote rescue senators, and they don't want to kind of shake the boat. But I think the reality is everything that Roland Giddens is doing is the same thing that he saw the George Weah administration doing. And he's only trying to replicate that same way of doing things. And it's the wrong way to go about it. and the people who are supposed to be a direct representation of the Liberian people are not, doing the bidding of the Liberian people in the best interest. They're kowtowing to the presidency. They're kowtowing to the influence of Young Kanga Lawrence. The fact that she's even, I'm sure she recommended her brother to be the ombudsman of the Republic of Liberia it has the stench of the appearance of impropriety, and it should have never been, approved. But again, this is Liberia. Look, I'm going to say something here that many people may not like. I'm very, very happy that I'm in America. For the first time in my life, in a long time, I'm very glad that I'm living in this country. Because if I was depending on Liberian men and Liberian women who are empowered to give me a better life, I don't know where my life would be right now. So thank God for America that some of us are in this country, because we have the privilege to sit here and talk about it. But if we're actually living in that mess, some of us who have the minds, we'll probably be going crazy, because we know that if we depend on these people to put laws on the book and to effectuate our lives in a positive way, we'll probably be in the doldrums in that country, and some of us will probably be Zogos, God forbid, and probably be useless in Liberia. But thank God for America, with the system that we're living, we can become something and be able to earn a living for ourselves. So I'll leave it there for now. But please, when you get to that Pudu Mountain Range story, I really want to talk about it, because it's
Oh
near
yeah,
and dear to my
I
heart.
know. That's why I'm keeping it for last. Mr. Victor Nambo, welcome
But
to.
Mr. Murray, I said similar thing like that in the Grand Jury chat room. I even said if the U.S. Army called me right now, I will run within a heartbeat to put that uniform on, because the opportunity America gave us.
Right. Mr. Nambo, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Gilman. It's good to be joining you guys. I'm sorry I'm this late, but if you are the de facto chief of staff of the Yola vice president, you get pulled in several different directions, but I'm glad to be here.
It's a good thing that your wife put you to work. It's a good thing. In other societies, Mr. Kamara here is anti-women. He will say the women that should
No,
be.
I just want you to get back to the shoe. That's all.
Mr. Nambe, thank you very much for supporting your wife. She's doing a great job. Hopefully, she can bring something new to the debate. Before we move on here, you came on when we were talking about the action of the executive, of the legislature, the Senate in particular, when they said they forgave the executive for the $22 million that were misappropriated. They said they are forgiven and nothing should happen to them. And we are saying for an administration that says they want to take pride in rule of law and the enforcement of law and transparency and all of that, this was terrible.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure how much of this you discussed, because I didn't have access to the program as where I was, but this action it's really left a lot of people confused.
1 minute, Mr. Eastman, can you take the banner down?
Yeah, but that is not the job description, though. You guys put the destination. What is the job description, though?
In the context of Liberia, because it may be different for other countries.
Right.
So we don't have that information at our fingertip. That's the thing. We don't have that information.
Okay, good. I think people in the comment section will complain about that.
Man, Jerome, man, these young people, they're stepping over everybody.
It's all right. It's all right.
Sorry, people are sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So yeah, I don't know if it is within the purview of the legislature, to forgive something like that. I don't understand what is going on with Liberia. I don't know where they got the authority from to grant this action. This gentleman, the Minister of Public Works. Now, I listened to one of the ministers on another platform saying they realized that this was all for the good of the president's 100-day deliverables, and that they knew he did it in good faith and all of that. But yes, there are procedures. There's a reason why we have procedures, right? Laws, the PPCC, because if we don't follow the laws, then it becomes the rule of the jungle. Chaos will reign. As well intentioned as the action was, I don't believe the legislature has any authority to, to forgive. I heard that they intend to still bring him in for additional questioning, but I think the first move is the wrong move that they've made. So they're already telegraphing the wrong message to this gentleman. So I don't know how much you said about it, but somehow I think this legislature is really somebody has to bring them to book. I think they're out of control. They get up and put 13 or something $million in the budget. I don't know for what purpose. Then they give each other $100,000 to go and spend because the $30,000 they got before is not sufficient. It's just a lot going on in the legislature. I don't understand what's going on.
Great. You are
Yeah,
asking.
Mr. Number, the point of correction is 150,000 for senator and 100,000 for representative.
Thank you very much.
So Liberia, like the people say, Mr. Kamara used to say, Honor President, we are the CDC takes the Liberian government like an elephant meat, they all eating. Mr. Kamara, the elephant has swollen to a largest. The new elephant in town is not a regular elephant. This one here is like it's from Foya. But anyway, here we are. Let's go.
let me just clarify something there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because you trivialize everything. I think it's deliberate.
Ain't no way you can trivialize $150,000, my friend.
It has been confirmed. I spoke to one of my representatives for Grand Judah. He confirmed it.
I heard it. Go ahead, Mr. Kamara. Do the best you can.
Okay, great. So when you say Jowiah government or Joseph Burger government, then it sounds comical. Remember, by law, the legislature have their own budget. You see, what they did is not something that Joe Burger had authority over. No control over that because their annual budget have been and they have control over that. They have their own budget. This is why you should be advocating for the auditing of that particular section of government, and also to be trying to enforce the legislature to pass a law that denies them the right to determine their own salaries, to determine their own budgets. Those are things you should fight for. When you advocate for a democratic society, you cannot ask the president to get involved into other branches of government.
Oh,
I don't believe I said that.
I wasn't talking to you. I said, Mr. Gilman,
Mr. Nangwe, you can tell that Alio Kamara is struggling to defend his government.
Okay, all right. That's what you got to say. When you got nothing to say, you say I struggle. Go ahead.
There's only one person in Liberia that controls the budget. It is the presidency, the executive. If the budget comes to the executive sees it as unattainable. That's why President Reagan used to say, I have my veto pen, my line item veto. We cannot afford this. The government has the right. The legislature can come out and say, we will get ourselves $1 million. If the president says, listen, we don't have the capacity, we don't have the money.
Can we change that law?
It means absolutely nothing. It means absolutely nothing, President. We was able to.
Mr. Gilman, taking my talking point.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Gay. Go ahead. I know you want to hit them.
Yeah, you're taking my talking point. So my dear brother, Elvis, it's true that the legislatures have the discretion to uphold the minister in contempt, to punish the minister or to forgive the minister. That is true. But what the legislature does not have is for them to put anything in the budget and the president signs it. Right? For them to put close to $13 million in the budget, quote unquote legislative project, and the president saw that and signed it, that means we have no opposition in the legislature. $22 million United States dollars for a debt rule. And we don't even know how the money was expended. First of all, they didn't even follow the proper process. But yet instead they talk about, oh, we are here for law and order. So if we have serious opposition, they can raise the argument, even if they don't have the votes, they can put up a filibuster and put pressure on the other side. But because everybody trying to keep their job, make sure that the next electoral cycle they can maintain that position, so they all zip it and say, oh, in the best interest of the country. How are we going to move forward if we continue to do the same kind of thing and hope that tomorrow that something else changes? Albert Einstein said doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. It's insanity. A phrase that Mr. Conning continues to echo in Liberia. But we're still doing the same thing. So yes, they had the discretion, granted. But because that's why sometimes when judges pass a ruling from another court, they go to another court, people look at their ruling and say, even though you have the discretion, but you could have done better. So yes, you are right to say the lawmakers have the discretion. But I think their action is wrong. It sent a bad signal to the rest of the country that $22 million just went the way it went. I don't think that's a good image for our country. I don't think
Anthony, the thing here is intent, right? Intent is always the key factor in these issues. If the guy told them that his intent was to spear here and accelerate the president quote unquote 100-day thing to get the road fixed, and they believe his intent, then yeah, they would reprimand him verbally, but they reserve the right to take any legal action against him, and that's what they did. It's just part of the process.
I understand. I'm just giving my opinion on that, and I'm not beating on you for that, but I'm just giving a different perspective to that because
Mr. Morris,
I don't
Mr.
think.
Tower, before I come to you, let me go to Mr. Nangwe because he just.
But let me end now, Mr. Gibbons.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So yeah, our problem has always been, and it's always going to be our leadership. From the first branch of government to the third branch of government, we continue to do things that will not help this country. And everybody has a buddy. And because I'm looking out for my buddy looking out for me, we will continue to be in a circle. We're not going to go anywhere. Who don't want development in the country? Everybody wants development in the country. Who doesn't want to see the country moving forward? Everybody wants to see the country moving forward. But we have to do it the right way. And if we continue to say, oh, let me look out for my buddy look after me, we will go right back in the same circle. And that's how these lawmakers continue to make money and get rich overnight.
Great. Mr. Nam, we close on this so we can go to the Putumasi thing. I'm disturbed by what my young brother here, or not young brother, excuse me, Mr. Morris is saying that it is, we should run our government based on intent. You bypass the law, you violate the law. The laws are there for a reason, and you say because of intent. Mr. Nambe, I'm confused here.
So am I, Mr. Goodman, and I must register my disappointment in my young brother Elvis here because I really credit him with very sharp and very pointed, analysis. But this time, he's falling on the sword. How do you?
Today, man, don't get killing.
$22 million for Liberia is no chump change. We cannot allow an individual to begin spending $22 million based on intent. And I'll be honest with you, the questions about the work done for this money, we're waiting for the rainy season to see if the work that was done for this money really was worth it. To go back to my brother here, Mr. Kamara, the president, the executive, right, drive the budget. They develop the budget. The legislature doesn't develop budget and pass it. No. The budget is captured in the national budget. The president reserves the right to veto the budget if they bring it to him and there's something he doesn't like. I think sitting down there and allowing the legislature to load the budget with another 13 point something million, that's something he could veto. If he didn't, then it means he also agreed with what they put in there. So I think the legislature really, and I agree in large extent to Hassan Musa's ability and American. I think this legislature is out of control. They need to rein them in, and they need to be audited, and they gotta tell us what they do with this money. They just go in there and think the national treasury, the national budget is just everything. They just continue to talk about it. Edis know the other day saying they don't believe they paid enough. I mean, come on. Yes. So I $13 million. I think there's a lot of money that we're putting at the discretion of these people. Yeah, I heard my small county, the Maryland County, is getting I think $600 million. The problem is we never see the money.
600,000.
Yeah, 600,000 because the two senators get 300,000 to spend, and
Yep.
then
But the
we
other
got
three senators, yeah.
we got three representatives.
Representative me. Yep.
100,000. Yeah, and this money, look. All of the time, President Weah was, I don't think there was any one time when the Social Development Fund, I think that's what it was called. No money was ever disbursed to Maryland County. I know that for certain because we reached our legislator. We tried to figure out how this money will be spent. Most of the self-help projects are spearheaded by people from on the side, and how much money can we expend on this project? We're digging wells for our people. We're building clinics for our people. We're repairing schools for our people. What is this government? What is government for in Liberian terms? The government is supposed to help our people. So all this money they're padding into the budget. I think the president, he could have vetoed this budget because $13 million, that's a lot of money that could have done something better than what is being
Can I
paid.
come in 1 second, please?
Please,
May I come in? May I come in,
Listen,
Mr. Gamer?
Mr. Isma, go ahead so we can hit the last one.
Yeah,
People running
Mr.
out.
Isma didn't speak yet.
I haven't
Go ahead.
spoken on this issue.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
listen, all of you gentlemen on this panel today are professionals in their own right. They know there's a procedure, a way of going about implementing projects, determining what is necessary, determining the costs, and weighing those things together to come up with a decision. The Senate is not clothed with that kind of authority. They don't have the requisite expertise. Why are we giving them $13 million when these projects should be going through either the National Investment Commission because they determine what we need, the Public Works Ministry because they analyze how things were going to be done? Since when are these senators and representatives? Since when are they the ones who are expert in what the county needs?
Yeah.
We are doing the same mistake, and I can tell you the reason why they're doing it. Because some of that money will not be misappropriated. This is a smoke screen, and they just find a new way. That's it. They just want to find a new way to weigh. They don't know what the county needs. And we're not making very much effort. I have people talking about, bringing the government where you is not centralized, so decentralized. One of the successes of Rawlings' government, he had people. He used a socialist strategy. He had bureaus in almost every little village or every little significant entity, where he was getting information directly from the people. What the people wanted. He knew. In other words, he was feeling the pulse all the time. What is the community really needing? We should have these people posted. They bring their information, and we project that against a national plan. We don't even have a national plan. How can these bills any kind of development when it has to come under a national scheme, a national plan? And Mr. Tao referring to Mr. Tao there because he knows this is how it has to be done constructively if we're going to move the needle. This is play. This is what we call child's play. They are not doing anything for us.
Great, we got some
another way of calling money.
Contribution. Thank you. Your name and where you calling from?
Okay, my name is Calabo Gonglo. And gentlemen, I'm sorry I couldn't join you guys because Mr. Gilmer didn't send me the link. But I wanted to make a quick contribution on this. When Gilmer asked for us to look for the definition of the ombudsman, I think your listener were looking up to, going in the code of conduct for you guys to read what the code of conduct says, about the ombudsman. The code of conduct has a clear role of the ombudsman. I believe is in part, I believe 8 or so. No, this is I believe 11. I think that's 8. It said the creation of the office of ombudsman in 12.1. It says the office of ombudsman is hereby established as an independent, autonomous body which shall be responsible for the enforcement, oversight, monitoring, and evaluation of the adherence to the code of conduct. So the code of conduct, the law says it shall receive and investigate all complaints in respect to the adherence of the code of conduct. And obviously all employees and all of you will refer his findings to LCC or other relevant agencies of government. But what this law does not say, and I'm concerned about it, what will it do if you find somebody guilty? Yes, it will actually request, say, in the case of President Barker or any other person that is responsible, that is expected to require under the law to file asset, to declare the asset, the code of conduct, the ombudsman will actually ask them to do so, publicly. But if the person refuses, they will just refer that matter to the AACC. They don't have that power. They didn't give them much power on this thing. But I want to pivot quickly onto the Power issue. The Power minister, I was one of the first that raised the red flag on the closing argument because he appeared on the show that day. And I asked him, Mr. Minister, is 100 days delivery considered an emergency? And he said no. Then my second question to him was, under the PPCC Act, particularly in section 55 that deals with souls, it's very clear to go for single souls, there must be a clearly unforeseeable event, which is emergency by definition in the Act, in the PPCC Act. That's what you can go for. And there are 4 conditions listed. You didn't meet those conditions. Why did you then, knowing that you didn't meet the condition, why did you apply for no objection to single soul? And then he started to walk by his word. That was emergency. It needed to be delayed, blah, blah, blah. And I concluded publicly, and that he was on the show, I said, what you did, you engaged in a classic definition of corruption. And he got angry with me. And I was happy when the Senate picked up the issue. But here is why I disagree with Mr. K. The Senate has right only to pardon in the case of contempt. But in the case of the violation of the law, the Senate is not a judicial forum. Only they should refer, in the case of violation, they should refer the matter to the Justice Ministry. Or to the relevant agency of the executive. But the Senate cannot. It's an act of criminality. Corruption is criminal. If there is an alleged act of criminality, the Senate or the House of Representatives cannot pardon. It's very clear. You cannot debate it. In the case of contempt power, they can forgive anyone they are holding in contempt, but not on the violation of the law. And I wanted to make that point clear.
All right, thank you.
Point on this, on the budget, will be that what President Barker did is no different from what President Sadi did. You can.
Again, we've got to move on to our last subject. That's 20 minutes left.
That's my last comment. In 2015, when she came to the Ebola conference, they raised the issue of the legislature making $15,000 that time. She said, "Oh, they just took the money. I didn't give it to them." Even though she had the power to reject the budget that time. I don't know if any of you can remember President Sadi respond when the international press asked her that question. This is a classic example, and it is a culture in the executive and in the legislature. It's pay to play because you go and buy a couple of your buy.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mr. Ganglo.
This is what we are talking about. Is everybody knows it is wrong. It is illegal. You cannot commit a crime without going through the process and just say, "Okay, my boys."
Can I make my clarity now?
Okay, so now
So
let's
move on to last point.
let's move on to the last part here.
Yeah, well, somebody says the cloud, they will kick her off the show.
Okay, let me start with Mr. Morris because this one looks like his neighbor string is buried in Putu Mountain. Mr. Morris, how you doing,
Cedar
my
Mountain
friend?
is changing into Putu Mountain. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, let's go. There was an expose in Liberia carried over by Front Page Africa with documented evidence here. It said the Liberian Investment Commission declined to grant Pioneer Group LLC concession right over the Putu iron ore mine, despite pressure from the Minister of State with our portfolio, Mrs. Mama Kamara.
Mama ability.
Yeah, Mama ability. Mr. Morris, this particular issue been burning you for a while. What's your take?
Yeah, because I'm conflicted, right? You know, Grand Jita is one of the least developed counties in Liberia, especially on the rural side. But the reality is, of all the counties in Liberia, most people don't know this, but that Jita Mountain, now called the Putu Mountain, has the most iron ore reserve, and there's a reason for that. You know, in Nimba, in Grand Bassa, people, they got iron ore and so forth, but that Putu Mountain is a sacred site for the people of the Southeast. It's the epicenter of the traditional religion of the people of the Southeast. So it's a very sensitive and sacred area. People used to make pilgrimage to that area for religious reasons. In that region, certain part of that place, certain perimeters, you can't even walk there with slippers, or you have to take off your slippers. They have people guarding that range. At certain place, you can't go there if you're not, an initiate. So it's very sensitive. That's one of the reasons people having, really going in there to do any kind of substantial mining to bring more development to the country. And most people who understand it are kind of, torn, between the religious implication and the developmental opportunity that mountain range could bring to the country. But I think the people that were operating there before, they didn't do a good job, which was called the the Putu Mining Company. And I think they sold it to some other, conglomerate, and now they want to have more of an expansion on their mount, on a mining operation. And many people from the country have, reserve reservation for this for some of the same reason that I just stated. And this government is trying to do it, forcefully. And Mamaka ability, who perhaps don't understand the implication and the sacredness of that of that mountain range, is trying to do it, strong-handedly. And those people who are understanding it, like the investment commission, other people who understand the significance of that area, is trying to put a halt to it. So I think the president needs to do investigations, especially when it comes to concession. Because in this country, I'll leave it. I'll make this last point, and I'll leave it there. In this country, for example, there are tribal lands. The indigenous of the United States. The
Native
Black Hill,
American.
the Native Americans, the Black Hills, and other sacred places. The U.S. government are not allowed to do any kind of, drilling and other things like that because that land is sacred to those people, and as such, the U.S. government, respect their land. So I think I'm torn. That's why I wanted to speak on it because I'm torn. I want to see development go into that county, but at the same time, the religious and traditional significance of the range is a hindrance to people going in there and mining. So maybe Anthony have his point of view on that issue. Even Mr. Number, people from the southeast, they know that area and they know the significance of it traditional to the people that live in that region. But I'll leave it there for now.
Okay, let me go to Mr. Aliu Kamara here because he's on the hot seat here. Mr. Kamara, it says here the MOU that was discovered that were uncovered by the newspaper was reported broken by the Minister of State with our portfolio, Mrs. Mamaka Ability, and her husband, a businessman that operates in Liberia. Mr. Kamara, how is this possible?
First of all, let me say one thing I love from my son ever is I can enjoy him when he's talking. Say the American government really respect the Indians so they don't touch their land. The last time I checked from Minnesota all the way to Las Vegas, they push them from there. But anyways, let me say this to you, Mr. That whole thing that is very speculative. What I do know is that the National Investment Commission decided that these guys were now prudent enough doesn't seem like they have the necessary the ability to provide the necessary facilities that Liberia needs. What these guys are offering is less than what Burma had ever offered and what Lamco have ever offered. That's what I know about that issue. As we're still waiting for the investment commission to come up to actually speak on the totality or in depth as to what transpired. But I want to close on this. See, we look at government from the perspective of our opinion, and that's understandable because if government doesn't educate people, give information out to people on a timely basis, okay, so it leaves room for people to speculate. The legislature can jump around, make political news about the public works ministry, do whatever they can. That's all they can do, to talk and say what they want to say. All right? The public works ministry falls under the executive. Now, the people who can get the public works minister in trouble will be the PPCC. As we speak, the PPCC has not reported any violations yet. So we can say all this, all that, all this, what the legislature didn't do, what the Senate did. If there are no complaints, the LSCC will not go in there to conduct investigation, or the GACC will not go in there to conduct any investigation. The whole thing is just a Huawei. So Musa Bledden can come out and talk. I mean, absolutely nothing.
No, it does
Except
mean something. It does mean something. I
Listen,
won't let you
Mr.
continue.
Kamara is here.
but I'm
No,
making,
but this is
can I
why
make my
these
point?
people have oversight responsibility.
Can I make my point?
Like that.
Victor, Mr. Nambele, he lands so good because you see how he's swallowing like a drunk man on the road. You see how he's swallowing. It's hard to defend these kind of things. Go ahead, land, my friend.
Why I can get the free time guy hard time like this? Let me learn with my point. So look, if the PPCC, who is responsible to make sure that those policies are implemented the correct way under PPCC law, if they don't report, well, how can you prosecute? How can you investigate if there's no report? So what these guys are doing, their job is to flag the issue, which is okay. Let them flag the issue. And this is why it's very important to us. We appreciate the fact that the president have appointed an ombudsman who has independent authority to flag out these issues and to go after these people to make recommendations for on audit.
Thank you.
Or investigation. And once that is done and there's a sign of foul play, the LSCC liaises with the Ministry of Justice and action is taken. That's how it works, not just by how we feel.
Thank you. You saw he trying to filibuster. Mr. Nambe.
Yeah, I'm glad that
we're talking about Putu Mantis. All he did, he went all the way back.
all the way around about it, and then coming back only to edit.
Let the crumple worry about that. I'm just
You know Liberia?
You see, go ahead, Mr. Nambe.
No, I'm glad that he came back after saying categorically that they have absolutely, the legislature has absolutely nothing to do with the executive. He came back to say, yeah, they can flag some issues. Yes, these people
can flag. That's what I said.
They have more than just flagging responsibility. They have they have oversight responsibility. They can conduct hearings. They can hold people in contempt. There's a lot they can do. I think the whole process of leading to this $22 million, I think they really need to conduct hearing and bring this public minister, and hopefully they will do that. But going back to the Pudu Mountain, my brother always made some good points there. This minister at the Ministry of State, she has to really, she's doing a lot, and I can understand perhaps she's overzealous, trying to make this government to succeed, but in the process, she's breaking a lot of rules. We have the Investment Commission. Why didn't these people go through the National Investment Commission? Why are they going to her and then coming back to the National Investment Commission? I mean, what is the purpose of the National Investment Commission? Because they will do the detailed investigation and check these people out and all of that and make sure that these people are legitimate, investors and all of that. So she has this $285,000. 285 pieces of yellow machinery we're talking about. And now we're talking about, something else going on with the Pudu Mountain. And I understand that this Robert fellow from South Africa, he may be tied in with HPX and all of this. So I think she's really doing a lot. I wish she would slow down a little bit. catch your breath and let's do these things properly. I salute her if her intention is, to help develop the country. We need other investment, but let's do it right because we know way too much when it is not done early. What happens? We just witnessed the Igbo mob and Elton Loan. We know what these things, how they go. So I will ask her to please, apply the brakes, let these people, refer them to the right government agency, and let them do the thorough, due diligence on these agencies. And if they're credible and they have what they say it takes to do what they're advocating for, yes, of course, kudos to them. Let them go ahead. But until that is done, I think she really needs to slow down. And that's my take on this matter. I
Great.
just think she's feeling the space. She's doing a whole lot and not doing it properly.
Great. We got 10 minutes, guys. Mr. Taiwo,
Yeah.
you're closing it all into one. The one that troubles me here is I keep hearing the word intent. Listen, you either lay by the rules or you don't lay by the rules. This woman who in the world signs and obligate the government. Can you imagine the minister of state with our portfolio is signing a mandatory memorandum of understanding
Is that possible?
on behalf of the Liberian government, committing the government to the Putuma, the entire Southeast, one woman who has no portfolio. Go ahead.
Yeah. So look at what happened here before I actually move to that. First is I will like to point something out clearly, which disagree with Mr. Elvis and people that say intent, and then I will agree with Mr. Elvis on something. And I will actually clap for him on that. The first thing is leadership and politics is not about intent, it's about results, tangible, applicable results. So let us establish that. It's not about intent. Whatever intent you have, we want to see the outcome that is tangible, is applicable. So that's the first thing. But when it comes to the Putu Mountain, just like any other concession, I will really, Mr. Elvis, thank you. Because you point out something, it's not just the mountain. Everything that is done in Liberia in terms of concession in any way is wiping out the tradition, is wiping out the culture. Once we lose that, can you imagine today in Liberia, a bunch of people now can't speak any of the languages? They were born, they grew up there. We're not talking about the level when they were young. Because if you speak that, then you're a country boy. So for you to actually point that out about the tradition, about the spiritual significance of that, that's great. That's one thing we should fight for. But look at what happened here. Not just that, we shouldn't be issuing no concession. I know you're saying that you want to see the Southeast develop. Concession don't bring development. It brings devastation and corruption and degradation. The same people, especially in the form in which we have it now, we have a whole bunch of concession. Just like we're talking about the institution of maybe justice and all this stuff. Let's make those ones that we already have work for us first. Let's put a plan in place that make it work for us so that we benefit from it. Then now with that blueprint, we can issue new concessions.
Thank you.
Until that, we shouldn't issue anything else. These are the same people that are coming to talk about climate change and global warming and protecting the environment, training armament, putting it in our people should not hunt me. They should not do this. They're coming in the most sacred areas that would cause more environmental degradation to tearing down the entire forest. That is why I say, hey, the first day I came here, I followed this stuff for almost 20 years now. It is climate change, the way they put in it, that the Africa that is a victim of it, they're saying that Africa should carry the burden of it. They're the beneficiaries. So no, we shouldn't issue any more concession. We should hold it. Let's make the ones that we already issue work for us first. Then once that works, then we say, okay, now it worked. Now from there going forward, this is the way we're going to go about it now. Please, let us do that. And so, and that is what I want to say. But like when it comes to the legislature, because I want to close that real quick, just less than a minute. This is the most corrupt institution that we have in Liberia. And I don't remember much because I didn't know much about government like Honor Doe and stuff for me to pay attention. But I want to believe this came in place. Actually, Honor Ellen where she put all these rackets in place where they're paying each other off. So the executive pretty much stole, because once you take some money and then they say they forgive you, it means it was misappropriated. So $22 million was stolen. We don't have any tangible stuff for it. And then why did they say they forgive? You're saying, oh, that they made a mistake. No. Okay, look, man, you took your own. We're going to take 13 million. This is what they're doing. That is it.
Thank you.
So they're paying
Thank
each other
you.
off.
Thank you.
I want to uncle what Mr. Tower was saying here.
Mr. Eastman, you go ahead and close, because the reason I'm saying
this thing they have been doing from Judgment Day. They give concessions to somebody, and they get somebody in government gets their kickback.
Mhm.
And once they get their kickback, it could be the executive, it could be a couple of other people. But once they get their kickback, the company is allowed to do whatever they want. Disregard for the environment, disregard for the people, the local communities that have to endure the excavation or the disrupting of their lives for this entity. And then no reciprocation, no schools, no water systems put, no electricity. These concessions have not been fair. They're only been the concern has always been to look after somebody. Somebody's been getting kickback and not the people. Until I agree 100% with Mr. Tower, until we have policies in place that would guarantee that the communities that involved there get some benefit, that these agreements do not tie into kickbacks for chief executives and other people, we shouldn't proceed forward. What you see going on, the first time I heard it, I thought somebody at the investment commission didn't get their own. If not, it's a racket, and every time they come in front of us, to pretending, oh, we're gonna do this, it's a racket behind there. The Liberian people got to get fed up. They got to get fed up of these imposters as statespeople, and it's not just now. This thing has been going on. They're just continuing it. They never change anything. All the revolution, all the things they said they never did anything. It's still the same corrupt practices they've been carrying on for decades and decades and decades. No change.
Thank you.
But now they will say they're for the people.
Thank you.
We have to protest. We have to stop these things going on. And if we allow it, the Putu Mountain or Mount Wallagisi, they will sell it under our nose when our children not see 1 cent.
Great.
I'll leave it right there.
Mr. Morris, you have 1 minute.
I think Mr. Morris.
Thank you. No, I didn't close. I just talked. Hold on.
Go ahead.
I want to give kudos to Mr. Tawa. I think he made some brilliant points there. But the situation with this whole thing with the money that the Minister of Labor or Public Works spent, the reality is the key thing there, the key point of contention is the single source, right? Or sole source, that he only consulted one company and awarded them the contract. That is against the PPCC, law. And if we think that the government can investigate himself, as they should, but in Liberia especially, the government can investigate themselves, find themselves guilty, and punish themselves, we'll be daydreaming. We know it didn't happen on the president. It barely ever happened on President Johnson, so it's not going to happen on President Boyka. That's why I kept saying, I said earlier on the show, I'm glad I live in America, because if I was in Liberia, I'll be suffering just like the other people that did. And you have no voice, you become voiceless. Once you vote these guys into place, and they're supposed to be your indirect representation and fighting on your behalf and fighting for your best interest, they're not going to do it. And I think you guys made a great point here, Mr. Eastman and Mr. Taiwo as well. It's like, people who watch baseball is like on some kind of unspoken rule. I'm doing this for you now. You're not telling me to do it for you, but I'm doing it for you. Just know when my time comes, you have to allow me to do certain things, as reciprocation. If you pass a budget, if you want to get something done, and really we should be scrutinizing it, but we're gonna be lax on it. When we put something in the budget for ourselves, you have to also be lax on it and not scrutinize it. This is our country. This is why we're backwards. This is why we're still in the doldrums of development. We're not going to move anywhere because the people, the caliber and the quality of people, the people who have no integrity, those are the kind of people we elect. Even the ones that have a little semblance of integrity, they become overwhelmed by the corrupt practices of the people that they surround themselves with, the people they work along with, and they themselves too become implicated in corruption. So for me, this is the country we have. We can talk on this platform all day, but the reality is the men and women that we elect, they're inherently, Mr. Eastman don't like to say, don't like people to say, well, I think they're inherently corrupt, and or they become corrupt over time by what they see going on around them in the legislature and in the executive. I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Mr. Gay. Your closing, sir. You. When you go to any of these places, they will say give a report who you get a contract to, bring return checks, when the check was cashed, who the check was cashed to. All of those things are just basic report that you gave. These people came out there with absolutely nothing because they know when they bring the report, it will show that the president got a cut, the son got a cut, the legislature got a cut. Excuse me. The speaker got a cut, everybody got a cut because Abraham Darrell Dillon, who was supposed to be the light, he came in, he said, it is not corruption as long as in the budget. Go ahead.
Look, man. So yes, that is misleading in Liberia. They will say politics is interest, right? Politics is in the interest of the people. That's what politics is all about. Politics is about the interest of the people, not politics interest for the lawmaker pockets or the people that they associate with. But in Liberia, the politicians coined that phrase and said politics is interest. Interest for me to get rich. You want to be rich in Liberia? Get into politics. You will be rich in 2 to 3 years' time. You will be a millionaire. Right? But yes, let me say this. Development in Liberia without concession and loans is inevitable. However, I agree with Mr. Tower and Mr. Eastman and the rest of the crew that the concession has to be structured because I am a beneficiary of concession deals. I was born in Yekepa. My father worked for Lamco Company, and I know what it is to benefit from concession. We went to a very good school. We have good hospitals. We have the best of all. So even from the laborer to the high staff member, we have 24/7 electricity in our houses. Houses have numbers, and everything was structured in a way that our city is supposed to look, a place of living condition, and our parents were paid living wages, good money, right? We don't have that kind of deal today in Liberia. Part of the reason has to do with people who are high school dropout, become a lawmaker. They don't understand what it is to read a concession, and they don't hire people who are well trained in a specific discipline, right? So only very few lawmakers today have people who understand the public matter, but they're not using those people the right way. In order for Liberia to move forward, we need concession deal, we need loans, and all of the different things. We cannot avoid these things, but the kind of way the loan has to be structured, it has to be in the interest of the people, not in the interest of lawmaker pockets. That today lawmaker can allocate $150,000 United States dollars for one senator per year, and $100,000 for representative per year, outside of that huge salary with benefits. The University of Liberia images came out the few days where students were sitting on the floor. Some people sitting on a broken chair, another different thing. But our lawmakers going to get $150,000 each. That's the kind of problem our country faces. These guys in government, including the executive mansion, continue to circulate the money among themselves, and the rest of the public suffer. Today, we hear the news. How can somebody use a 3D presentation and act as though the machine is coming to Liberia and people believe that nonsense? The very first day I saw that thing, I said, they are buying time because of the rice price, tobacco on the market, that everybody's complaining about rice price. That's how they're showing this video. And people buy into it. I said, this thing is not even a contract sign. This is just a video. Nothing coming to Liberia. 3 days later, we start hearing all of the different things. So today, I hope that our lawmakers from our county and the rest of the other people will make sure that because the last contract they had with that Putu Monty was a fiasco. Thank God they had that hiccup and they stopped operating. I want my culture to be preserved. That mountain means a lot to us. Our culture should not be derailed because of development. We can have both. We can have development and preserve the culture. But the document has to reflect the people. We cannot just sign anything like the EU and Boma loan that was signed in 48 hours. They didn't even understand the intricacy of that. And today we have a law on the book with zero to the country. They signed something that they didn't understand. How can you do that to your country? So I want to leave it there.
Mr. Kamara, it's very difficult to defend government. I know. It's
Okay, here's my closing.
You holding your face. You scared. You hot. Go ahead. 1 minute.
So the legislatures are not having queries or qualms with the public work minister because he's squandered 22 million. The reason why they're having issues with him is because he did not follow the process in awarding the contracts. Let us understand that. I want to say thanks to the government of JMB for bringing the ombudsman. It's up to the citizenry, because you are stakeholders in this process, to make the ombudsman work for you and not for Joseph Boakai. All right? Sometimes we're confused. We complain about contracts, and we complain when somebody says they bring a yellow machine. We don't want a yellow machine either. Sometimes I ask the Liberian people, what do you want? Let me on record here that the process sometimes may be faulty. There will be mistakes along the way. Wrong things will be done because they're infallible. I mean, they're not infallible. So these are human beings who would make mistakes at the end of the day. The whole thing about bad contract, most of these concessions are not bad. The problem we are having is holding these companies to their agreement, what they sign up to. As we speak, we have not been able to hold metal steel, however you call them, to live up to their side of the bargain. That's our problem. The same concession that had Lamco and Boma working for us back in the day, those same concessions were only modified, but for the most part, they still remain the same. However, people of Liberia are living in tanks or tankers. All right? Where tanker warehouses, whereby the concession clearly said that those buildings must be reconstructed or rebuilt. All of the facilities that Lamco left there, unfortunately, the same people who were benefactors of Lamco were the same people who had the audacity to loot Lamco and sell to Africans. Now we're starting all over again. If we have put force behind these people since the Ellen Johnson administration, the George Weah administration, and now we will not be complaining that concession is bad. Unfortunately for us, the Investment Commission chair is one of the progressive. He thinks pretty much like Mr. Tao over there. They believe that things will be done like it's done in Russia, and we'll see how everything works out. We just hope for the best of Liberia. We pray for Liberia. Liberia is the only country that I can go to and not want to leave, but I have no choice because my money can finish my pocket. Other than that, I don't want to come back, but I have no choice to come back. You know.
But how about the people that there now? Your money can finish from your pocket from America. How about the poor people that there now?
Yeah, but they're not used to the life I've lived, so it's difficult.
The man said Liberia is the only
You're a
country.
newcomer, man.
When the man go to Sierra Leone, he want to run, but he come to Liberia. You don't want to. Mr. Victor, now we're closer out because this man talking Tabata.
If I didn't Sierra Leone, better will kill you one day.
Thank you very much. Great show again, my dear fellows. Hopefully, we'll begin to have some females to join us on the show. FOL, we need to get on it. I'm glad that the president has, appointed the advocate. I guess it had to take his own unity party partisans calling out their own party workers for breaching the code of conduct. I think the Secretary General of the party is still the managing director of LPRC. I think the chairman of the party is a member on the board of NPA. And so during the week, I think they assembled at the party headquarters and giving them an ultimatum to relinquish one. They can't do both because the code of conduct prevents that from happening. So I'm glad that the advocate is in office. I hope, he will be allowed, or he will make himself as independent as he should be. I hear some of the government functionaries every now and then they want to be managing director at one agency and spokesperson for the party at another agency. I think that is a violation of the code of conduct. So I hope the ombudsman will get onto that. As to the minister at the Ministry of State, I think she really needs to, I think I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say she means well. But there is a reason why there is a process, right? There is a process prescribed for bringing investment into the country. I think she should take advantage of that and let the National Investment Commission, vet these people and do what they're set up to do. The legislature, we've all said, I don't think they have any right to forgive any transgression of the type that has been committed by the Minister of Public Works. It's actually out of they have absolutely no right, no business doing that. And I hope somehow, some way, they will be held accountable for this. I heard they're trying to redeem themselves to bring the minister back again, whatever it is. He had no business expending $22 million whatsoever for whatever purpose without the approval. The budget had not even passed yet when this young man started spending the money. Why? So there is chaos reigning in this government. We're hoping that this president will get a handle on things. That's why he is the president. We have only one president at a time. Unlike what Mr. Kamara is saying, the legislature.
Mr. Gary, you gotta bring some water on the show. Then you can't replace Mr. Kamara. So he said we need to overhaul the show.
Yeah,
Say
well,
what?
good luck with that. Let us come.
Yeah, we're gonna come on the show. Maybe we're not as smart as it. Then you can't give us all the smart analysis.
Sam Wallo is a phantom. He doesn't have a face. I've been
He
calling
has
him.
gone.
We've
He
been
has
calling
gone
him for
from.
years to come. He can't come.
He has gone from posting the minister of the president making appointments as achievement to now he's posting.
The whole show need to be rehauled. All the parallels need to be gone.
Yeah,
So,
thank you
Mr.
very much.
Wallo,
It was an opportunity to come in here and share the Sunday with you guys.
That's all right.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Great.
you guys.
Mr. Wallo was here talking Joseph Waga's home for saying Joseph Waga is in power for 5 days. He brought $1.5 billion HPX
HPS investment.
It will bring 500,000 jobs, high-paying jobs, and now all of a sudden he's talking about we bashing the president, and he doesn't want to come on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to someone like Martin Colley, who used to be here, saying, "How can the University of Liberia, where I am, we don't have seats?" And George Weah is dancing buka. George Weah is eating what other guy named is eating ham. The other guy is eating a hamburger.
Lobster. The other guy eating lobster.
Here we have his colleagues. We are talking about $600,000 that were given to the party chair for the celebration. No report. We saw what happened to the inaugural board, the inaugural revelation. Not even water was given out. All of these corruption. And Martin Colley, where are you? Where are you, Mr. Colley? You say if you when JMB came to power, in fact, you call yourself the Rescue Rumble, that you are here to fight corruption and you will destroy corruption. Mr. Rumble, where are you? But here we are. Somebody says, it is not about George Weah. It is not about Ellen. It's about you moving, and it's our time to eat. Like Mr. Ford used to say, you chop and I chop. Everybody was upset with him because he got caught saying it. But that's exactly why it is. The Mr. Light, Darrell Dillon says, it is not corruption as long as you put it in the budget. Even you get yourself $1 million against the will of the people. Once we pass it, we can eat it. It is legal. That's what Darrell Dillon said. Ladies and gentlemen, great show. Thank you for tuning in. Let's do it again next week. Same time, same place. And I'm going this time. I will say it here. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. Carrie Irving grew up in Newark, New Jersey. So this time around, I have to go with the Dallas Mavericks against those guys from that dirty
For that
Boston,
racist Boston there, nobody left Boston. It's so
that,
racist.
that dirty Boston Harbor. We coming there, and those boys from Newark will beat you. Other than that, Mr. Jimmy Eastman, thank you very much, Mr. Elvis. Mr. Tower, say hi to the folks in Texas. You'll stay safe over there.
Wait a minute. I thought you're going to allow them to make our calls on the game before
Oh,
you.
do your call. Go ahead and say hi to your wife. She's doing a great job.
Thank you very much.
Behind every strong woman is a strong man. Go ahead. Make your call.
Thank you very much. Right now,
Don't
before I
beat
make my
Chelsea.
call,
Don't beat
I will start with the
Chelsea.
Phillies. Right now, the Phillies are back they're hot again.
I see.
They're back to their winning ways.
Yeah.
But look, I like Dallas, and I was shocked that they knocked out the Wolves. But I am telling you, the Celtics are hot. You know, I mean, they're kicking all cylinders. It will be a tough sell for that. I think the Celtics will take it.
Wow. Mr. Murray, I don't want it to be a sour grape or anything. You just lost to Dallas, so I know you're going to switch to Boston Celtics, but who you picking based on what you saw?
Yeah, I think the guards of the Celtics are just too big and strong. I think they're gonna win. I don't want them to win because that city is very, very racist. It racially abuse all the basketball players. The basketball players always complain about Boston and the racial abuse that they receive there. So I'm not a Boston fan, but I think like Mr. Nambo said, they're just a better team. Most likely they're gonna win.
Great. Mr. Tower, I know you're from Houston, so next door neighbor, what do you think?
Okay, yeah, I don't follow that. I don't know anything about any of the basketball stuff.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Darrell, for being honest. Mr. Eastman.
Yeah,
Mr.
very good. You know, I'm torn because I see them making a whole lot of noise about Doncic, and Kyrie is tagging along. So I kind of want to see the boys in Boston, you know, and that genius. You know, the guy's a genius. What is he, Jalen Brown?
Jalen
The
Brown.
guy's a complete genius.
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
And
Went to
very
Berkeley.
smart guy.
Very, very smart.
Yeah.
But both of them,
and
even
give
Kyrie
them-
Irving is very brilliant.
Yeah, well, so I'm being from New York. Boston is the last team I want to see win, but because of the situation, I'm gonna be thinking Boston need to beat those guys. The Doncic guy, I don't want to see him of any kind of prominence in the league.
Yeah, they want me like be better than LeBron. They won't push the white
One
design.
thing better than everybody.
Okay, guys.
That's what they want to do.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we got Boston, and $1 Mavericks. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be back and rubbing it in your faces. Ladies and gentlemen, as usual, thank you for coming, tuning in. We read your comments. We look forward to seeing you. As always, we say,
We are Labira. Labira is our home. Labira people. Ilẹ̀ ìrètè àríwá. Labira o. Ilẹ̀ ìrètè àríwá. Labira mi labira.